All right. What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody had a good Mother's Day. Hope you celebrated with your mom as best you could, seeing these are not normal times, are they? So, what today's lesson is going to be, and this is the only lesson you have to do 10 minutes, probably be about 10 minutes. Now, if you haven't seen the video that I think I assigned on Friday about paradoxes, I'm going to ask you to watch that because that video goes over maybe 6, 7 of fairly confusing paradoxes. And that is one of the vocabulary words for this Friday's test, paradox. So let me talk a little bit about what a paradox is. And that is a statement that when you first look at it, it seems that it's not true. But when you look a little closer, it actually is probably true, but also contradictory, meaning it's both true and untrue at the same time. So that video that I put out on Friday, I didn't make it. I just assigned it. Talks about 6 of them, and 6 or 7. And one I would like to talk about right now is the grandfather paradox. So a lot of these paradoxes are from what would happen if you could time travel, because that opens up a whole new realm of reality. So the one I want to talk about today, and then I want to read a short passage from the article that we're working our way through, and it's actually called the paradoxes. But it's the grandfather paradox. The grandfather paradox. So let's say it was possible for you to go back in time with your time machine. And you somehow met your grandfather, but maybe you didn't know he was your grandfather. And you accidentally killed your grandfather. So you from the past, or in the past, would affect the future you, because you had just killed your grandfather. Now, we're assuming that you kill your grandfather before he has your mom or dad, whatever. So you kill him as a young child. And then therefore, you wipe yourself out of existence. Well, then that gets really confusing because if you have wiped yourself out of existence, you would never have been able to kill your grandfather in the first place. It can boggle the mind if you think about it too much, and a lot of times paradoxes happen when we talk about time travel, just simply because you're messing with reality then. So, grandfather paradox. Hopefully you understand a little bit of that. But you have to think in 2 different times. The grandfather who will eventually have your parents, one of them, hopefully not both of them, one of your parents, let's say it's your mom, okay? Your grandfather will be the father of your mother, who is necessary for you to come into existence. But if you go back in time and kill that man before he can have any children, you won't exist. If you don't exist, then you couldn't have killed your grandfather. All right, so that's confusing, but hopefully I did a somewhat decent job of explaining it, and then coupled with the video that you watched on Friday, hopefully you're somewhat of an expert on at least the grandfather paradox. I'll be honest, watching that video, some of those paradoxes my mind actually couldn't follow. So sometimes, because of the contradictions there, it does get a little bit difficult to visualize, like, how can that actually happen? So let's talk about this part as we're working our way through, I think, what is a pretty difficult article. Here we go. And hopefully you've watched the other videos, because I've read the other, 3 parts? So we're actually on part 4 now. So this is called the paradoxes. And according to renowned English physicist Stephen Hawking, a time machine will never be built. He affirms his belief with this statement: if such a creation were possible, then why haven't we been invaded by hordes of travelers from the future? So let's talk about that for a second. And if you would like to read along, there should be some subtitles along with this video that even if you are watching on mobile, you should be able to have access to. It's the little 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. And if you're watching on your computer, it should just say CC at the bottom. So Stephen Hawking, believe he has passed away, but he is almost like the Albert Einstein of kind of maybe my generation. He is a little bit older than me, but you may have heard or seen him because he leaves quite an impression. Towards the end of his life, he was in a wheelchair and unable to speak. So he had a voice a very computerized voice that would speak for him. But his mind was perfectly still intact and running and making some amazing discoveries. But he is talking about right now, if there is a time machine, like why haven't people come back to investigate us? So maybe it hasn't been invented yet or whatever, but if we are talking about multiple timelines, maybe our timeline doesn't have one. Maybe we never will have one. But I cannot argue with Stephen Hawking. He is a genius. I think there was a movie made about his life, actually. Theory of Everything, maybe? Not sure. Just think, if you could go back in time, your presence in the past could cause events to go out of whack, creating questions and chaos. Suppose that you are traveling back, you accidentally killed an ancestor. Does this mean you will not be born? According to people who believe in multi-dimensional worlds, this and other time travel related paradoxes can be avoided. These people say that when a person travels to the past, the universe immediately splits into other worlds, which are similar but not exactly the same. They argue that nothing will change for those who travel back to the past and do not touch or alter anything. So then you're talking about if you can open up these additional worlds, these additional dimensions when you travel back in time, that could explain why we haven't been visited by any time travelers, because we're just not on that timeline. I don't know. But if you have any questions, this is going to be a little bit under 10 minutes. If you have any questions about that, the grandfather paradox, there's also something called the butterfly effect that you might want to take a look at. I think I've talked about the butterfly effect with some students in the past. So some of you might know of the butterfly effect, but that's something also worth checking out. Butterfly effect. And there's also a movie of that too, the butterfly effect, many years ago, way before you were born, with a guy named Ashton Kutcher, I believe. Ashton Kutcher. You may know him from that 70s show, I think it is. So the butterfly effect is basically this in a nutshell. If a butterfly flaps its wings in Tennessee in a certain way, could that affect major events from happening? And that is, maybe I will put a link to a video because it is quite detailed, but it essentially says that small, seemingly unimportant events can actually cause like true chaos, true confusion all around. So, all right, I will link this to Google Classroom. Please watch this. I hope everybody is having a great day. I've reached out to some of you through email. Haven't heard from some of you. Have heard from some of you, which is nice. But I will try to get in touch with more people this week, try to make some connections. Hopefully see some work from some of you. And if you keep turning in work, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job. We got what? Less than a month of school left. June 5th is our last day. We're at May 11th. Hopefully in the fall, we'll see each other. But please keep working through these last couple weeks of work. 10 minutes a day per teacher. Getting in about an hour or so. Read. Read would be nice. Okay? Read. All right, we'll see you guys later.